Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
I'm Brittany Pacheco.
And I'm Amber Churchwell.
And we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today. It's a very special episode. We're here today to talk about Enola Holmes 2, which just dropped on Netflix on November 4th. It stars Millie Bobby Brown as Enola Holmes, the younger sister of Sherlock Holmes. It's the sequel to the first Enola Holmes movie, which came out in 2020, also on Netflix, also starring Millie Bobby Brown. And we'll get into the cast here in a second. But before we talk about our overall thoughts on the movie and really, dive deep into the story, let's just go around the room talking about our history with the character. I mean, maybe not so much Enola. I know Enola is not just created for this show or for this movie, but maybe Sherlock Holmes and like all his ancillary characters. So, Amber, if you would, could you lead off? Tell us your history with the Sherlock Holmes family of characters.
Well, when I was little, my dad actually used to read me classic Sherlock Holmes stories ever since I was little. So he was my bedtime stories. He didn't read fairy tales or popular kids books at the time. He read me Sherlock. So I really love Sherlock, and I kind of grew up with it, obviously, and I love adaptions of Sherlock Holmes. By no means an expert, because I'm horrible with dates and actor names and everything like that, but I know general things, and I know I've seen many adaptions, and I like a lot of them. Like, I watch Elementary, I did watch House, and I'm surprised that how many people did not know that was based off of Sherlock Holmes.
I learned that right now. I did not know that.
Oh yeah,
like, literally, you told me that. Like, I did not know. Yeah.
Yeah.
The more you know.
House.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, like if you watch House and anything like that with the lens that he is Sherlock Holmes, everything just kind of makes a little bit more sense.
That's amazing.
I just mentioned Elementary. What else?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a bunch, but
I mean, BBC
really
Sherlock. We cannot forget BBC Sherlock.
Yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
And Martin Freeman.
Yep.
Did I get it right?
There you go.
Yes, you did.
Watson.
I got after right. So I really grew up with it. And I love the characters, but it's very fun. And I really enjoy this adaptation because it's clever, but also refreshing in a good way. Like, there are some Sherlock adaptations that can get really repetitive and feel like these characters have been done 1,000 times over, but because they have been. But I think it's refreshing and engaging.
Very cool.
What about you guys?
Brittany, what's your thoughts? What's your kind of history with Sherlock Holmes?
So I truthfully haven't read. If I have, it's been an extremely long time since I've read any of the stories from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Nope.
Conan
You said
Doyle.
I said it right the first time. Yeah. See? Okay. Names are tough. But like Amber, I have watched different adaptations of Sherlock when you come down to either TV or movie related, because we also cannot forget the Robert Downey Jr. version of being Sherlock Holmes with Jude Law as Dr. Watson. And I really do enjoy every actor's interpretation of Sherlock. Amber and I were talking offline yesterday about and we'll dive into this particular story line for Enola Holmes too, but one of the characters, one of Sherlock's nemesis, like the nemesis, is Moriarty. And the twist that came in this movie for me was amazing. And Amber was saying, oh, well, in Elementary, it's sort of the same, but there was an even bigger twist to it as well. So I'm like, whoa, like this is really cool. So like I said, I've watched BBC Sherlock, the Benedict Cumberbatch, Martin Freeman adaptation. I love it. Also love RDJ and Jude Law. And I've watched House, but you know what, Justin, just like you, I just learned today too that this is also a nod to Sherlock, which it now makes a lot more sense.
Doesn't his friend's name Wilson?
Oh gosh, it's been years since I've watched House.
I know. It's been a long time for me too.
But it does make sense. I mean,
yeah,
quite
like
honestly,
it's Wilson.
it does.
Like They
Right.
made all of the names like slightly similar, but the
Right.
house is
Right.
obviously a home. Sounds like
Yeah. So I think to give light to a younger sibling of the Holmes, because in BBC Sherlock, spoiler alert for those who maybe have not watched season 4 of the BBC Sherlock, there is another Holmes. It is a sister, and she is fucking brilliant. By the way, same actress played Emma Targaryen in House of the Dragon. Just letting everyone know. So yeah, I mean, that was really cool. And then to see a younger teenage version of a Holmes sister, and it's Millie Bobby Brown. I've never really watched her because I've never watched Stranger Things. It's just not my jam. But I love her character as Enola Holmes. I loved it in the first movie. I loved it even more in this movie. And I think she's just adorable. And she seems to have really good chemistry with whomever she's on screen with.
she does. I like her a lot.
No, she's great. So my history with Sherlock Holmes, I did read when I was a kid. I did read. Is it The Hound or The Hounds of Baskerville?
The Hounds of Baskerville.
Hounds. Okay, so I definitely read that first.
That's one of my favorite episodes from BBC Sherlock.
I read that in school.
I don't have a favorite
for sure.
And Justin's like, pass. He's like, I read the story. Ha.
Right. And then as far as like the other adaptations of Sherlock, I'm more familiar with the recent ones. Just this past year, I watched both the Robert Downey Jr. movies, and I watched the entire Benedict Cumberbatch BBC
Sherlock
run. And I have to say that, and Brittany, I've told you this, I really enjoyed the Robert Downey Jr. movies. I don't think they were that beloved, but I prefer that version of the character. I prefer Henry Cavill's version of the character as Sherlock. Something about Benedict Cumberbatch, he just always rubbed me the wrong way. Like, I understand Holmes is like, okay, let's hear me out. I think Benedict Cumberbatch is great as Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
But every other role that he plays, and he's a great actor, but he's usually not very likable. And his Holmes is extremely unlikable. Now I get it.
Holmes is supposed to be unlikable.
No, I know. But like, he's so unlikable that you root for the villain to like do something to him or get over on him, because
It's true.
It's really tough to like that version of the character. Downey Jr. I thought was great. I was like, man, if he didn't like, he was doing these movies at the same time as Iron Man. If he wasn't an Iron Man, they could have done like 5 of these movies. I thought they were awesome. And then with Henry Cavill, obviously I'm a Henry Cavill guy because of Superman. I want his version of Superman to be seen, because he never really got to play Superman, in my opinion. If you've watched this before, you've heard me talk about this a million times, but I'm happy that he's going to be Superman again. And him playing Sherlock Holmes is interesting to me because when you play Superman, you're like, it's hard for you to be someone that people don't like, I think, because Superman is like, he's inherently good. He's better than people. I'm not only like physically because of his, because he's from another planet, he has these superpowers, but he's a better person than any other human being. So when you play Superman, you kind of have to embody that, which I think Henry Cavill does a good job doing. So when he plays Sherlock Holmes, I'm more apt to root for him, I guess is what I would say. And the same way with Robert Downey Jr. Whereas with Benedict Cumberbatch, I didn't like the guy. I mean, I think he did a great job, but I just didn't like it. So Brittany,
I just like to say here and now, we're gonna be looking for a new host for the Watchers in the Basement.
Yeah.
No,
this is
I do see your point. I will give him the benefit that I do see his point. Because obviously my dad likes Sherlock Holmes because obviously he said pretty much the same thing. He's like, I like the show and I like that they're modernizing it. I like that it is a fresh, different take on it. I like those things and I like the actors. But I also he used the words petulant child.
Yeah.
He's like, this is like the angsty teenager version of the Sherlock that I know. Like, it's still like I can still see it's Sherlock, but to me he's acting like this is the Sherlock that still needs to mature a little bit to become the one that I know. So
that's perfect, because I think Henry Cavill and I think Robert Downey Jr., their versions of the character are more adult. Like they have
Mhm.
problems. They, I think they're both portrayed in their respective movies.
narratives.
Yeah, as they both have drinking problems and obviously problems dealing with people and maybe women and just everything. Like they have all kinds of problems. But you're right. The petulance of Benedict Cumberbatch's version, he's just not
Mhm.
likable. Like you're just like, man, like Watson, on the
Yeah.
other hand, you're right. Watson is tremendously likable. Like it's almost
Mhm.
like you're like, why don't we just like let him take over the show and
But
Sherlock
they're
can
a
do the
yin,
sidekick?
they're yin and yang. I mean,
I
they balance each other out. I
Mhm.
mean, you have one that, like, I agree.
I get it.
Benedict's Sherlock is completely unlikable, but it's like he knows he's smarter than everyone else, and he doesn't waste any time to let others know that
Right.
he's more intelligent than they are. And people just don't like that. Obviously, who likes being told that they're stupid compared to somebody else? No one.
I
But
asked for it.
yeah, but like if there's an underlining reason of, let's say, an undiagnosed case of Asperger's or
Right.
autism or something like that,
Yeah.
kind of like Sheldon Cooper, for example,
Mhm.
you can kind of relate it to that. It's like you like them, but then there's traits about their personalities that you just don't
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love Robert Downey Jr. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy his movies as well. I absolutely adore Jude Law, opposite of him. But
I loved his Watson. I'm not gonna lie. I actually
yeah.
for the Robert Downey Jr. version of, we need a shorter where you reference that version of the
RDJ.
movie.
RDJ.
Thank you.
We
I'm
do a
not
lot of
gonna-
Marvel stuff here, so we
do a lot of
say
Marvel.
RDJ.
Yeah, I really like Irene in that movie. Like gorgeous.
Yes.
Absolutely love it.
Fantastic.
Because Moriarty and Irene Adler tend to be my favorite characters. Like
Mhm.
it's just kind of a thing. So I just absolutely love her portrayal of it, and I like her chemistry with Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I think the chemistry was really well.
Mhm.
I didn't really get that with Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch and that Irene. Like I felt like it was forced. And it's funny that you mentioned the
can see that.
Asperger's thing, because I think it was more around the time that Sherlock was being created by Stephen Moffat. Was that
Moffat.
that was like,
sorry.
Hey,
There's
I'm a
certain
long time-
distaste I have for Moffat at times, so
I don't blame you. I have a certain okay. I'm a lifelong Doctor Who fan as well. Trust me, I have certain feelings about him as well. But he, around the time that they were developing Sherlock, that was kind of when the popularity of the theory that Sherlock has Asperger's became popular.
Yeah.
That's like right around that time. So
Mhm.
it felt very much like, hey, we're going to reference this really old, like we're going to reference this take to kind of freshen it up.
Yeah.
And I feel like other versions don't really acknowledge that. So it's like, I like that they did acknowledge it, because
Mhm.
there are some behaviors that he does in the series original like writing that make sense for that behavior.
I mean, he says he's a high functioning sociopath, so there is some sort of self-awareness in all of this.
Yeah, and I think that's
but
what
he is who he is.
Yeah, I think that line specifically cheapened it.
Maybe.
If that makes sense.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, like it cheapened the actual, like, there are ways to show that without outright saying
Perhaps.
high functioning sociopath. But I really like this version of Sherlock. Like maybe it's because I do like Henry Cavill. I'm not
What's
immune.
not to like?
I don't know. He's just a good guy.
I feel like Henry as the Sherlock in this sequel, it felt like a touch closer to the RDJ version. Or
Okay.
it was like a cross between RDJ, or he's somewhere in between RDJ and Benedict's Sherlock. Like I can kind of
saw him a little more.
I think so too, and we saw more of his, the personality come out, especially when he goes to the police station and they're like, "Excuse me, sir, absolutely not. Like don't even bother. Like just no."
Yeah.
Just
or when he
no.
was drunk. Like, I
When he
feel
was
like
drunk. Yeah.
seeing his living space, which is something that we didn't really get in the first movie, seeing his living space and his like actual how he is outside of just the my sister, my mom are missing situation. Seeing him in his, I guess, own environment definitely fleshed out the character a little more.
Well, and he now in this movie, he's got more popularity. He's made a name for himself as a detective, and he's in the London papers. He's being followed by the media, and people know the name Sherlock Holmes. And so for like Enola to live up to her brother's status is he obviously overshadows her without a doubt, and not to mention that she's very young, she's female. There's question about her qualifications and like what can she actually do, and it's like, well, to like give her a chance. But this is also like turn of the century London era, and we're in the first movie we saw how reform was being challenged and how women needed and wanted a bigger voice. And this just kind of continues with the theme of the work environment of women, match girls, if you will.
Right.
So I really enjoyed just the story and the characters, even with like that of Sarah Chapman. I didn't realize, I mean, I know I've studied this before, but I didn't realize that this character was actually based off like real events and the real like Sarah Chapman, and how she took a stance to better the work conditions for women. So it was cool. I mean, I love the tie-in of like real life events to like this fictional story, but I think it was extremely well done. And I figured out some things here and there, but like the twist with Moriarty, like I was sus about her. Spoiler, her. Moriarty, if y'all can see, is this character behind me, this lovely woman behind me.
Yeah, her name is Sharon Duncan-Brewster.
Okay.
Yeah,
thank you. And she has what appears to be like a very minor character. She's like the private secretary to the treasury minister, and he kind of like brushes her off when she offers a suggestion or just something any worthwhile. And he's like, I don't ask you for your opinion. Like, go do something else. Go do what I asked you to do. And I told this to Amber Justin yesterday that because of that, I'm like, okay, there's something sus about her. I just couldn't put my finger on it. And when Sherlock was talking about his case, and you see this big map in front, like on his wall, and there's a bunch of papers and thumbtacks and like different colors of string, all connecting to like different places. And he's like, I just can't figure this out. And when he talked about how all these accounts, because it's money that's being moved, but all being moved to like this one account. And he said something along the lines of like a genius mathematician. I was like, well, there's Moriarty. Like I already knew that right off the top. But I never would have guessed that this quote unquote minor character, this private secretary to the ministry, the treasury minister, was the mastermind behind this whole thing. I really enjoyed it. And then to rearrange the letters in Moriarty to spell out
it's Mira Troy.
I was like, brilliant.
That's how I figured it out. I didn't even remember really. I mean, the character, she has a very brief scene. It's like
she does
4 or 5 minute scene, like in the middle of the movie, and you don't see her until the big reveal. But
I got it when. Well, I started getting like suspicious of her when she didn't say anything when she saw Enola. Like I was like, something. So I knew that, and then at the ball, the second that she says like started talking about the game, I was like, oh, okay. And then I like, oh wait, our name, and then I kind of like pieced it out of my brain because I've been have my eyes searching for Moriarty in almost every adaptation of Sherlock. So it's again, he's one of my favorite characters. So I'm kind of like, so I guess she's one of my favorite characters. So it was
the mantle that is Moriarty is one of your favorites.
The title.
There you go.
It's like the Doctor. It's the title. Moriarty is a state of being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Real quick,
I really liked it.
Real quick, I just want to give shout out to those in the chat. Geeking Out with Melly Mel. She's here in the chat. She said, "Hey everyone, I don't know anything about Sherlock Holmes, but wanted to stop by and say hello. Also, can't believe Henry Cavill is leaving The Witcher." Mel, we talked about this extensively last week on our DC and Marvel news pod. Go check that out if you haven't. I have some strong feelings. I have very strong feelings about it. Also, give a shout out.
Upset.
Yeah. Also, give a shout out to Bricky Hollows. She's also a fan of Enola Holmes. We talked about this briefly before jumping online. And she says she hasn't watched any other Sherlock Holmes movie. The first she's seen related to him was Enola Holmes. So, and Amber did give some solid advice. BBC Sherlock is a good start if you want it on in the background.
Yeah. It's out of all of the versions, I think that one's the easiest to watch. At least to have it on in the background.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they make it all the clues and all of the hints, and especially the recapping, and they make his deduction work very visual and very kind of not in your face, but easier to follow than other versions where you're kind of having to like I liked it in the Robert Downey Jr. version, but I didn't. But friends who watched the movie didn't really like how fast the deductions went.
Yeah,
they were like in the Robert. They were like,
I think the boxing scene in the first Sherlock Holmes with RDJ, and you see him like
I liked it,
breaking it down in his mind, and you know, moves and counter moves, and basically explaining it to the audience. That's actually my favorite scene in that whole entire movie.
I loved it, but I feel like
they're definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, they are. They really are. All of them are. But I think as opposed to like as an introduction, I say Sherlock, BBC Sherlock. Especially since they like they hit the big ones like Hounds of Baskerville and yeah, they hit all the they hit all the popular ones, the ones that people should know. And
but it's okay. So we talked a lot about Sherlock, and rightfully so. But as far as Enola, the character of Enola, I'll be honest. Right now, I can't remember. I don't remember her being referenced in the movie, the RDJ movies, really, or the.
No, she's not.
Okay, she's not. Okay, but she's not. She's not a show creation, though, right? No, I mean, movie creation. No.
So Enola Holmes, if I'm not mistaken, is a creation from a different author. Okay. Who I guess took the liberty of saying, okay, well, you know, let's make this a little bit more interesting. Let's create this sister, because like I said, in BBC Sherlock, spoiler, there is a sister Holmes,
right? But it's not Enola.
It's not Enola. Her name is Euros.
Yeah,
Euros. Yeah. So they all the Holmes have strange names: Mycroft, Sherlock, Euros, and Enola obviously is no exception to this. If in the first movie we learned that Enola spelled backwards is alone, which is a very sad idea. However, this movie adaptation comes from, I believe it's a series of Enola Holmes mysteries, if you will. So I think it's really just charming. I think it's just extremely cute. It's entertaining as hell.
I think it's a very I think it's a good way to honor the original Sherlock without, because I mean there's a lot of some people, like people who really, really love Sherlock Holmes. I know I've heard people that absolutely hate adaptions of it because they mess up this, they mess up that, or they do something that they don't like. Yeah, no one's ever happy, but I personally see a lot of people very happy with this. Like they understand that because I think it's because it is Enola and not and like you said, it's based off of a separate series that's not by Doyle. That it definitely I think that kind of gives them the excuse to loosen up their reins a bit.
Yeah.
But I like it. It works well.
And thus kind of give their interpretation of how Sherlock would behave and Mycroft would behave. And they're still pretty on par with their behaviors from the Doyle books. So which, speaking of Mycroft, we didn't see him at all in this movie. And I'm curious why Sam Carflin, I can never pronounce his last name. He did not make a return. Because I think
his character is shown in the picture, like the family picture.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was odd because because usually if an actor's not in something, they just don't show the character.
Exactly.
Or if there's someone else that replaces them, you'd have the picture of the new person. But
the
character was completely absent from the film.
Which go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was gonna say they might I think a lot of people again like the people who are really strict on expectations on Sherlock and anything by Doyle will probably really be salty that there's no Mycroft. Because weirdly enough, there are people who really like Mycroft.
What?
There are. I've known people. There are people who like Mycroft. I don't know why, but there are. And
I just got the answer.
Yeah, why isn't he?
When in doubt, IMDb trivia comes in for the win. Sam Claflin did not reprise his role as Mycroft Holmes due to scheduling conflicts. Director Harry Bradbeer said they really wanted him back for the sequel and hope to have him back if there's going to be a third installment.
I think there should be.
I think there will be.
I think there will be.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that for the end, but let's just talk about that now. There is a mid-credit scene where we get another famous Sherlock Holmes character. He enters the game.
Mm-hmm.
Brittany, you want to tell everybody about that?
Well, I mean, what is Sherlock Holmes without his flatmate, Dr. John Watson? I mean, it's not Sherlock Holmes if he's without a partner. I mean, let's just be real.
Right.
Be it male, be it female, you need a Dr. Holmes to a Dr. Watson to a Sherlock Holmes. I mean, come on. That's just you have to go by that. You have to do it.
I mean, technically Sherlock, because the Sherlock stories are written as perspective by Watson, you wouldn't have Sherlock without Watson, literally.
Yes.
And that was very much a self-insert of Doyle.
Right.
Yes. You literally would not have a Sherlock without a Watson. And I'm very excited. I was because that's been nagging at the back of my mind. Where's Watson? And so
where's Watson? Instead of where's Waldo? Amber, do you think that with Watson coming on the scene, do you think that they'll be in the third film, or do you think this will be a spinoff with Henry Cavill's Sherlock getting his own film? I mean, I think honestly, I think they can still live in the same. I think they can still live in the same Enola Holmes world, obviously. But it's interesting that the mid-credit scene had nothing to do with Enola. So,
well, theoretically, she was the one who kind of put them together.
She set him up. You're right. Yeah.
Because before the movie ended, basically Sherlock was saying, "Hey, let's do better by keeping in touch." Yeah. And she's like, "Okay, well, how about I come over to your place 4:00 on Thursday?" And he goes, "Perfect." And that's how Dr. Watson comes into the picture. He says he has an appointment with a Sherlock Holmes at 22 1B Baker Street for 4:00 that Thursday. And you see the little look on Henry Cavill / Sherlock, like, okay, this is Enola's way of, pushing me to get a flatmate, because that's what she was basically suggesting he do. And she's making it happen.
The one thing I would say is I was surprised, and maybe y'all are familiar with the actor who's playing Watson. I don't think I've ever seen that actor before. If I have, I don't know who he is.
You need to look at him again.
Usually Watson, isn't usually Watson it's obviously a very key character. I thought it was going to be someone more famous, or someone that we would just know off the bat.
As far as I'm aware, the actor who plays Dr. Watson is Hamish. Please excuse my mispronunciation. Patel, Hamish Patel, and he was
Okay.
in Tenet as of the most recent thing that I'm aware of. Now,
did
I
see that.
myself, I haven't seen Tenet,
That is
so
an extremely confusing movie. I would not recommend. I'll just put it that way.
well, and
Personally,
in
same.
fairness, this is also like a UK based production, so maybe this particular character is more well known in the UK than to us American audiences.
He probably is. That's probably fair. I just
Yeah,
like obviously in the RDJ movies, it's Jude Law, and like, and
right.
Jude Law for a while was one of the
But
biggest
Jude Law
movie
has
stars in
also
the
been
world.
Hollywood. Like he's crossed over
No,
to
I
Hollywood.
know, but
so,
what
yeah.
I'm saying is usually, the Holmes character is a more recognizable actor. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting because I thought, man, this guy, this is a pretty big role for someone that I not that I know everyone, but
Yeah.
just my thoughts.
Yeah. And he
Yeah,
looks like he's an
I-
up and coming actor himself. So
Okay.
he's only been acting since maybe 2010.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
not too long.
I don't automatically recognize him, but he does look familiar. And I mean, other than like the big popular ones, I do watch Doctor Who, and almost everybody in the UK has been in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
But so maybe that's where I recognize him from. But he does look a little bit familiar. But again, that show's been going on for 60 years. I can't tell you if he's been on it or not. I don't know.
Yeah,
Goodness.
Maybe.
Yeah, but I think it's
right.
a very good possibility that we could see a spin-off of
Yeah.
a Henry Cavill Sherlock adaptation in the Enola Holmes universe, but it's just him and this Dr. Watson.
Personally,
Would he?
Go ahead, Amber.
Sorry, would he really have I don't know how filming and acting go really schedule wise, but would he really have time with that if DC's harping on Superman? Because I would love to see something like that, but
I mean, it took 2 years between the first Enola Holmes and this one, so I mean, it could be another 2 to 3 years if we were to see anything.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think
That's
it
true.
fits better if it's just in that Enola Holmes world. You know what I mean? Because this is a 2 hour. Both movies were 2 hours, about 2 hours long, and I feel like that there was plenty of room for people to cook. There was a lot of space for people to do their own thing. I don't think that there needs to be a spinoff. You also have to wonder with Henry Cavill with the Witcher stuff, leaving the Witcher. What terms is he with Netflix? I'm sure he's still good with them because I don't know if y'all have been following the promotion of this movie, but Millie Bobby Brown and Henry Cavill were everywhere promoting this movie. Much like how The Rock was everywhere promoting Black Adam a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like they were going everywhere. There's a ton of YouTube videos of them interacting together. And my next thing I was going to ask y'all is, what do y'all think about the sibling chemistry between Cavill and Millie Bobby Brown? I'll let Amber go for that one first.
I'm going to be so biased on this because I am the younger child of I have older siblings that are about the same age difference as Mycroft and I have 2 sisters and a brother that are about the same ages that Sherlock and Mycroft would have been when Enola was born. So it's to me, seeing how they interacted as siblings kind of reminded me of me and my middle sister. And I'm and Sherlock is the middle child. Okay, that makes so much sense. That is a lot of how Enola would have acted was definitely how I would have treated my sister if my sister was walking around pretending to be Sherlock. So that's entirely me being biased. I liked their interactions as siblings because I think it made more sense. And I liked that we got to see more of it than because in the first movie, I rewatched the first movie before watching the second one. And you see a bit of interaction, but it's mostly just trying to show that there is some kind of connection between these characters. But here you actually really do experience it more. So I liked it.
Yeah. Brittany, what are your thoughts on their kind of sibling chemistry, I guess you could say, or do they come off as older brother, younger, younger sister or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Like Amber, like I'm the youngest in the family. Justin, you've met my siblings too, and
Yep.
you know there's a big age difference between us, you know, and my brother is also the middle child, and I can see the similarities between Enola, Sherlock, and then like the relationship I have with my brother and myself, where you know you can kind of bicker to one another, but then you also need each other's help, and you're there to support one another, and like Amber said, you see more of that growth and that sibling love in this movie compared to the first, because the first, it had been years since the Holmes brothers seen Enola. And I mean, they totally bypassed her at the train station. They're like, who is this young woman talking to us? And so that goes to show, obviously, they were not close growing up, at least with her.
Right.
And then Mycroft assumes she's now his ward and he's responsible for her. And then by the end of that movie, it's Sherlock who says, let her be my ward. I will look after her, take care of her. And in this movie, beginning of Enola Holmes 2, we see that she's kind of standing on her own 2 feet. You know, she's decided to make her own agency, detective agency, and doesn't seem to be leaning on the support of her older brother, let alone both brothers. And she's kind of, I guess, trying to prove a point. But really, all in all, it's like you can be as independent as you want. Like I'm super independent, but like at the end of the day, you still are going to need to rely on friends, family, you know, others for support in order to get the job done, if you will. And I think that's what's great about first seeing Enola's relationship with Sherlock, because they, like I said, they bickered, but then he realizes like, hey, I need your help. She realizes, hey, I need your help, Sherlock. And then lo and behold, they're basically working the same case, if you will.
And I liked that it wasn't an automatically and now seamlessly we work together fine. I liked that it was like, yeah, I need your help, but I'm not going to make it easy for you. And because that's a lot of sibling energy.
Oh yeah,
I
without a
loved
doubt.
it.
Yeah,
I mean, just letting her fall from behind the map cracked me up, because I'm like,
that's true.
my sibling would do that.
Yeah.
And that's like a familiar kind of trope in these Sherlock stories where, like you mentioned, the falling behind the map thing, where they show you like the setup, and then there's like, here's how this happened, and like you go back in time, because then you're like, because you're watching it, and in that scene, she's hanging off the side of a building, about to fall, or what, you know, something bad's gonna happen, and then next thing you know, you see her, and she's like in different clothes, and she's like falling from behind this like secret hidden cubbyhole where a map is, and then they kept explaining to how she got the clothes and how she got to the cubbyhole or whatever. And
it's a very Sherlock Holmes way of explaining things,
and I love it.
Yes,
I mean,
honestly, you know, that's how I explain things in normal life. Like it's
but do
roundabout.
But do you two swap your clothes with other people and like pay them for it? Because she's constantly doing that with all these guys. She's constantly like, I'll pay you £5 to switch clothes with me. And like this last one, was it this movie, or maybe I'm getting confused with the other one? This last one, he was just like very happy in being in the women's clothing. He's like, oh my God, look at me, I'm so pretty.
It looked like a good fit for him, honestly.
Like live your life, man.
Like be your best self, okay?
She found someone the exact perfect size clothing. So
yeah, exactly.
Like she has to like at least glance at these, because even the gardeners and like the people in the first movie, she has to be like, you're kind of my size, it's fine. Like as long as it can fit her, she doesn't care.
Yeah.
I mean, but also when someone's offering you money.
True.
Especially in those times, just saying.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny that they kept up with that joke, because she did it so many times in the first movie. I thought it was funny that they kept up with the joke, and that they had that reference of the guy being like, "I'm in a dress."
Pretty.
I liked it. Yeah,
it's great.
Thought it added a little bit more humor to it.
I really enjoy. You know, we just watched She-Hulk, Brittany and I. Amber, did you watch She-Hulk?
Nope.
No. Okay. Are you not a Marvel person at all?
No. No, I am. Okay. I just I really like Thor. He's my like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. We love
Um,
Thor.
Well, I like I'm a huge history nerd.
Okay.
So history, mythology, and like I wanted to go into archaeology. Like that's kind of my jam. So the fact that it's, Norse mythology but as superheroes, I liked it. So I like Thor primarily. And I do watch most Marvel things, but I don't really watch Marvel shows other than Moon
Okay.
Knight. But
Okay.
again, Moon Knight has historical and
There's historical
archaeological.
stuff. Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Well,
scratches that itch in my brain.
So the parallel I'm trying to draw is with She-Hulk. She-Hulk is a character who breaks the fourth wall. She talks to the audience.
Yes.
And
Like
Enola
Deadpool.
Holmes is like Deadpool also.
Okay.
Enola Holmes
I
does
got it.
this. Honestly, Enola Holmes probably does this more and maybe better than any character. I think
Yeah.
Mhm.
all of the scenes they have where, and and just like with Deadpool and with She-Hulk, only that character can talk to the fourth wall or break the fourth wall, talk to the
Yeah.
audience. No one else can. In She-Hulk, I think Hulk, like, he asks her, like, who you talking to? Like, he's aware of that. But in the Enola Holmes world, like, she does it all the time, mid-scene, mid-action scene, whatever. And
Mhm.
no one is able to pick that up, but I love the way they do that with that in the show and all the scenes, like the scene where she meets Tewksbury like he's on his way to, he's a lord, and so he's a politician, so he's on the way to do his politic and wherever that is. And
Parliament?
Parliament. There we go. Okay. I know sports and Marvel, okay, and some DC stuff.
I don't know sports.
Right. Okay. So touche. Okay,
Brittany knows that. I don't know sports.
With our powers combined, like we're like Captain Planet or something. No,
Yeah.
but, exactly. Voltron it. Yeah, we're the Voltron of podcasts.
Voltron was a little before my time. No, it wasn't. John grew up watching Voltron. Never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, Voltron was cool in theory, but wasn't a good cartoon.
Oh my god.
Anyway, back to my point. So we see
fair.
Tewksbury. Yeah, so he meets up with her because she knows his route to work, and she's kind of been stalking him, sort of, I guess you could say.
Not creepy at all.
But the best part of that is whenever they part ways, and he's walking away, and he turns and looks back at her, and then turns around. Then she's like, "Is he looking at me?" And then of course at that point he isn't.
Yeah.
And then she turns back. Like the way they did the timing of all that stuff, where she talks to the audience, but then no one else sees it. I think that's really creative and very well done.
I loved it.
Yeah, and I think she's great. Like like Brittany. Like I don't watch Stranger Things, so like my only like Millie Bobby Brown experience is she was in, I don't know, maybe I don't know if she's in two of them, but she's in one of the recent Godzilla movies, which was really bad.
Oh yeah,
And
she was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now she wasn't bad. I don't blame her. I don't blame any of the actors. It's just not a good movie.
Yeah.
But she's
No,
phenomenal.
it really wasn't.
In this role. I think she's great. I really
She
like.
is.
I think it seems like like I don't know. Maybe she's not really. It's not a stretch for her to play Enola Holmes. Maybe she just kind of is like Enola Holmes in some ways. I don't know. What are y'all thoughts on her?
She embodies it very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I did watch Stranger Things.
Okay.
I'm not caught up on it, but I did. She's a good actor, but I don't have any. It's hard to connect to her character 11 in Stranger Things, or at least for me. Like, and everybody that I have talked to who actually are fans of Stranger Things, it's like a little harder to connect to 11. But Enola, yeah, she's stubborn and feisty and does her own thing, but you still like her. There's something about her character and her countenance and just how she portrays herself that you're not going to be frustrated about it. You can connect to it, like, yeah, okay, that's her. Like, and it's iconic to her, and I think she really, yeah, you're right. I think she is very much like her. Like, that's just Millie Bobby Brown.
I think she's the same age as the character also, isn't she?
More or less.
Yeah. Like that's
more or less.
That's kind of crazy too. Like that she's
the
character, I think in this movie is supposed to be like what, 18, 19 or so. And then
in the first movie, she was 16.
Yeah, they definitely said that. Right.
But we don't know like time
How
How
jump.
many
long?
years it's
Right.
been?
Yeah, it's
Right.
been. I mean, we could easily assume, hey, maybe it's been 2 years since, or it's been
I
the
mean,
next year. Either
there's
way,
one part
she's in that
where
age group.
there's one part where Sherlock says, "You're my ward and a minor." So that would, I mean, I guess a minor is under
17?
17. Yeah, so under
Yeah, she could
18,
be 17.
right?
Yeah.
So
Oh wait, isn't it different in the UK?
Yes and no. I mean, at 18, they can drink and they can smoke and they can do. It's different here in the US. Obviously, what's
Yeah.
considered. I mean, you're technically legal at 18, but like you still can't do certain things until you're 21. I think it's slightly
Yeah.
different in the UK. Could be wrong. If Nick, our friend in the UK, if you're ever watch this, get to this
My
point,
knowledge is
help
Harry
us
Potter.
help us answer this question. What's the legality or the legal age of what's not considered a minor anymore in the UK?
Right.
Tell us.
Because in the wizarding world, it's 17.
It is 17. That's true.
That's
Well-
all I know.
you know, Amber, you bring up Harry Potter, and this is something I was going to ask both of y'all. You're both huge Harry Potter fans. Is
Yes.
the reason why is part of the reason why y'all like Sherlock is because of like it's sort of the same, not maybe not time
Actors.
period, but act like it's got the same kind of feel. Like I really think that the RDJ movies, to me, like the score, the sound of them, it when I watched them, and I think they both came out at Christmas time also.
Mhm. They
Um,
did.
it does have a similar kind of feel as maybe those early Harry Potter movies, maybe not the later ones. What are y'all thoughts? Is Harry Potter part of why you like this current Sherlock incarnations, I guess?
Yes. Well, for me, short answer.
Please
yeah.
elaborate. Yeah, sorry. My bad. Not a great question, but
Just
Please
yes,
talk,
fine.
yeah.
No, at the end. Yes, the end. No, it's I think it's the familiarity
okay.
Mhm.
because but I feel like I'm going to not connecting it to Harry Potter because I have loved Harry Potter since I was 7, but that also was around the time that my dad was reading Sherlock to me. So I think part of it is that they are very interconnected to me. But I think until you mentioned it, I didn't even consider the fact, oh,
Okay.
hey, they're both British. Like I didn't make that connection. I think I just like this adaptation because it is a fresh and fun at something that I'm very familiar with.
Yeah.
And they combine a lot of other things that I'm also familiar with, that I guess. And I do see it a lot with actors, like how I mentioned, I do watch Doctor Who, and pretty much if you've watched British things in any way, shape, or form, you've probably seen a lot of the same people. So I like all of those Harry Potter, like I've seen comparisons since Enola came out that people comparing actors in their portrayal, like Helena Bonham Carter being Bellatrix in Harry Potter and being I cannot remember her first, Eudora, isn't it? Eudora.
Euphoria,
Yeah,
or something like that.
yeah.
it's a very she's Mama Holmes. Okay, we'll
Mama
just call her.
Holmes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mama
Mama
Holmes.
Holmes. She so like I've seen people comparing that. I've been told that a lot of people who watch BBC things like I do, that their familiarity is heightened because of that. Like, hey, I know this actor in this, and I know this actor in that, so it just makes you feel more comfortable and makes you more likely to like it.
Yeah.
But that's me. So I don't know if that's.
right.
I've never
I understand,
connected that to
yeah.
Harry Potter, but I
Yeah, I
have
mean,
seen people talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brittany, what do you think? You know, I think what I'm trying to say, like to me, the feel of it is very similar. It's
I can understand where you're coming from with that. I mean, it's not quite the same because obviously we're lacking in magic.
there's no magic, obviously.
There's no
But I
magic,
mean,
of course, but like
but-
there's the science behind it, and then how it's presented to you is in a very kind of dramatic, theatrical, magical
Right.
kind of presence.
the
I
detective
can
work is almost magical. Like, I mean,
yeah,
Sherlock and Enola, they're like superheroes, basically. I mean, they're super
but they're humans.
clever. Yeah, they're humans, but they're smarter than the average person. by far.
Exactly, and I think what I aside from both movies having Harry Potter actors in them, I'm tend to like all things British. I mean,
Right.
ever since I was a kid, pre Harry Potter, it's just kind of just something that I've always been into. I mean, not to mention that my name literally means from Britain.
Right.
I should be a Brit. I am a Brit, but not that kind of Brit. But for me, I can see that sort of comparison of quality of performance with
Mhm.
Enola Holmes to that of like Harry Potter. And I think the science side of things, because you do see these flashbacks of Enola with her mom doing experiments and
Yeah.
how you think maybe for me, because science just was never my thing, how could doing an experiment as a child ever benefit you in your adult life? And it absolutely does in like
Right.
the big final scene in, funny enough, a theater where Enola is kind of trapped by this superintendent inspector played by a Harry Potter actor, David Thewlis.
It's
How do you
Thewlis.
say his Thewlis?
Thewlis. Yeah.
Thewlis? I don't know how to pronounce his
He,
last name.
he
I've
was
always heard it
also
Thewlis, but I don't
Thewlis.
no,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's Thewlis. He was in
probably.
I mean, besides Harry Potter, he was also famously the villain in Wonder Woman.
Yes, he was. And he was also
Aries,
he
yeah.
was the father in The Boy with the Striped Pajamas, which is such a, oh my god, bawling
Thanks for
quality
bringing
movie.
up trauma.
Sorry. But I mean, he's a phenomenal actor, just
Yeah.
No, he
absolutely
is.
phenomenal. And I was like, wow, like this is a big change from Remus Lupin, because I think everyone who's watched Harry Potter like generally loves Prisoner of Azkaban, and they generally love Remus Lupin because he's also
Yeah.
he's a wizard, but also a werewolf. Anyway,
He's very beloved.
that's a different pod for a different day with Amber. Justin, you're welcome to join, but like you really didn't watch the movies. I don't care what you say.
I watched every Harry Potter movie. And by the way, was it last year around this time or was it earlier in or first of 2022? We talked about and we broke down the Harry Potter reunion special on HBO
That
Max,
was
which I thought was
January of this
phenomenal.
year.
Yeah, it was great.
Yes.
So, and I was a part of that, and that did very well.
I cried.
Views-wise. Yeah.
I cried so many times.
Are you saying it's because of you, Justin? That's just
No, I'm
crap.
not saying it's because of. No, I'm saying what I'm saying is I've always been open to
No,
the
you're
Harry
right.
Potter stuff.
You have
I mean,
been.
think
You
about
have
how many Harry Potter gifts have I given you over the years?
A
Like
lot.
a lot. Yeah.
A lot.
So I know a little bit. It's like I
He
always tell
knows
you,
my obsession. Let's just put it that way.
it's like I told you. I think if Harry Potter would have come around when I was a kid, I'm sure I would have been way into it. You know, like my knowledge of like Harry Potter became a thing when I was probably 20 or something, or like late, like 17 or 18.
You're like 19 probably.
Yeah. So like like I wasn't into Power Rangers either. Like I'm sure like if I was like because I was too old, but like Ninja Turtles, I love Ninja Turtles. You know what I'm saying? So like
who wouldn't?
it's just those things where you just miss out on those windows and they have
Fair
something else that comes in.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But
Fair.
Amber had a good point because there are actors who were both in Harry Potter and in this,
Yes.
you know, with
Mhm.
David Thewlis and also with Helena Bonham Carter.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Complete
I get that a
opposite
lot.
character. Complete opposite.
Well, completely. And I mean, I get that with Brittany, I've talked to you about this with Doctor Who. Like
Mhm.
can you tell that I like the villains? Because my favorite character, the Master in Doctor
You're
Who.
such a Slytherin.
Yeah, I like the bad guys with if their name starts with the letter M.
Daemon Targaryen doesn't start with an M, but
there's an M in there though.
there's an M
but
in
he's
there.
in Doctor Who.
He is
Yeah,
in Doctor Who.
He is.
His
the
name's
Doctor.
Matt Smith. So
There's your M.
Yeah, there we go. Anyway, the Master, his actor, whose name I cannot remember at the moment,
Sasha something.
Dewan.
Yeah, something like
Dewan,
that.
yeah. I'm absolutely in love with him, and
Also in BBC Sherlock.
Yes, exactly. I was just you beat me to it. I was gonna
Full
say he's
circle.
in Sherlock, and
Yeah.
he's in Doctor Who as the Master, and he's actually my favorite Master at the moment. And then
He has a favorite master, Justin.
yeah.
Be a
There's like
separate
9 of
podcast.
them.
Oh, that's an after hours
Right.
podcast.
Okay, I mean,
We're-
if either of you are like interested in ever watching Doctor Who and like doing
Oh,
that
I
whole
was like,
thing, I
whoa.
will like
Where
I
are we
will join the journey. I will just be there to enjoy.
going? Okay.
Like
Honestly, I think I'd like to know more about it because obviously the people who are in Doctor Who always end up being in the stuff I end up liking or caring about. So
David
it's
Tennant.
right. I mean, his son was obviously in House of the Dragon also.
He was.
Um,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that there's been like what 11 Doctor Who's or 12 or
14.
14. Okay,
Yeah.
all
Currently
I
at
know.
14.
Okay, I think that's cool
There's
that it's a
technically
character
been
that
like
continues.
20 something actors who portrayed the Doctor, but
Okay.
we number them and it's confusing how we number them. And that is something for a different podcast or like
Yeah.
different episode.
Back to
But
Enola.
if you ever do want to, just hit me up and we will do this journey together. I am so
Sounds
involved.
good.
It's on
Sounds
HBO.
I think George
Okay.
has watched Doctor Who, so like that would be an interesting.
But isn't it moving to Disney Plus though? I saw something recently about Doctor Who going to Disney.
14 actually with the announcement of 14, well,
Okay.
not the announcement, but with the
reveal?
regeneration, yeah,
Regeneration.
the regeneration of 14, it said that Doctor Who's going to return to BBC and Disney Plus. So we don't know if it's going to be taken off of HBO and put onto Disney Plus entirely.
Maybe just from there on out.
Yeah, or maybe I really don't know because there are some things that I did not think Disney would be cool with in Doctor Who, but
I mean, Disney brought over the Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Daredevil.
true.
I mean,
Yeah,
both
those
Deadpool
are
too, right?
both the
and
Deadpool movies
Deadpool.
are on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but they're a
Okay,
little bit
that's true.
more mature, adult compared to their other content.
That's true.
So.
You're right.
They have
I forgot
they have
about
a new
those.
thing. Yeah, whenever you log into the app, you can there's like
Yeah.
parental
Sure.
controls or whatever you can change.
No,
that.
you're right. I completely forgot about that because
Yeah.
there are like some things that they don't really like address and go really deep into it, but they're like mass genocide is a thing. So
Wonderful.
sorry to drop that, Brittany. But yeah, it's so I was
I mean, it
like,
happens in the real world. It's fine.
yeah. Yeah, and I
Anyway.
mean aliens, that's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, like he is in Catherine, the actor who plays the master, Sacha Dhawan. He's also in BBC Sherlock and
The Great.
which I forgot until like somebody posted about it and I was like, oh my god. And in The Great, like based off of on Hulu, based off of Catherine the Great.
Mhm.
He because I liked that actor and I liked that he was actually one of my favorite characters in The Great. And when I was watching it, and then he's a character just like Moriarty, where it's like you never know the master is for sure the master until he just reveals it because he's an asshole like that. But he is. But there's a lot of connections between those two characters now that I'm thinking about it. But
yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely the familiarity. I think it's just like seeing familiar actors. So that and familiar places and the British accents, like I think fictional England is just very familiar to people.
That's probably part of it too. Yeah, I
Mhm.
think that's part of it. Yeah. And then what did y'all think about the theme music? I thought the theme music was great. I think in all these iterations of Sherlock, the recent ones, they all like they're different, but they all have a same feel to me. Like I honestly couldn't even tell you what the movie one was, but I love the movie one with RDJ. I don't really remember the one from the BBC show, but I remember liking it, whatever it is. So, and like the Enola Holmes one, I'll forget that too. Why are you laughing?
No, because when talking about the theme music for BBC Sherlock, there's a section of music when Sherlock basically the game's afoot and he's like really into his case and he really has something going, and the music for that I will sing it in my most annoying tone of life. And I will not do that here because I don't want to lose viewers and I don't want to lose subscribers. But that's why I laugh, Justin. No, but you're right. Well, like the score for Enola RDJ Sherlock Holmes and BBC Sherlock, they're all incredible. And there is a similar tone to all of it. And I think that's what makes it also familiar is there's kind of like this unwritten score for Sherlock Holmes that's, used throughout different adaptations.
Violins.
Right. It's the violins. I mean, it's very appropriate to
The
see.
man likes his violin.
Could be a
The
fiddle.
fiddle,
Yeah.
which
Fiddle,
Sherlock does
whatever.
not have two of. He only has one of those. He's got
Nope.
two of the pipes, or multiple of the pipes.
Yeah, because he's kind of a
What a
crackhead.
fangirl Lestrade is, which is so funny because in the BBC Sherlock adaptation, like Sherlock and Lestrade don't get on very well. Like Sherlock just gets he gets annoyed by everyone, but especially Lestrade. Like he doesn't even know his first name. I just think it was funny. It's like
True.
this Enola Holmes Lestrade is like fangirling over Sherlock, which I just thought was wonderful.
Timeline wise, we actually, because if this is before he meets Watson, there's time for Lestrade to be annoying to Sherlock. There's time.
Yeah.
He has time.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe in like a decade or so when they're dealing with hounds, the hounds of Baskerville, he'll be
Very well, yeah.
over Sherlock.
Yeah, that's true.
He has time
That's
before
very true.
retirement.
Yeah. What was one of y'all's favorite scenes from Enola Holmes 2? And I'll give you a second to ponder on that. One of mine actually is the breakout from prison, where Enola has been accused of murder. And it's while she's investigating her case. And a quick synopsis of this case is that there's Sarah Chapman, as I previously mentioned. She's a matchstick girl working in a factory that a lot of these women are coming down with quote unquote typhus. Okay. And they're dying from it. Well, Sarah, along with another friend who also worked at the factory, and then a gentleman caller, if you will, were investigating the use of phosphorus in the matches. And that's actually what was killing the girls in the factory. And so the whole thing is that Sarah goes missing. She's accused of thievery and exploitation and things of that nature. And because of that, David Thewlis' character has been hired to investigate the same woman, but also to kind of like hush everything up, right? They don't want this information getting out there. And so they both meet at this murder scene of the friend, the female that also worked at the factory. Her name is May. And Enola, obviously she was there. She got there first. She's trying to stop the bleeding. She's got blood on her hands, quite literally. And so she's accused of murdering this woman. And eventually things catch up to her. She gets arrested. She goes to jail. And you then see Sherlock going to, I can't think of her name, but she was in the first movie. Wonderful black woman.
Is it Edith?
Edith, thank you. Yes. Edith. Edith, who is a badass woman all around. She can jujitsu your ass like no one's business, okay? And she's friends with Enola's mother. They go way back. They're part of this kind of reform. And she comes in to save the day per Sherlock's request of, I need your help. And which is very difficult for him to say because he's of the mindset of like, I don't need anyone's help. I am the great Sherlock Holmes, blah, 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 blah. But no, he needs someone's help. And the carriage scene where they're trying to escape the policeman and like their little makeshift like powder bomb type things being thrown at the policeman to make their great escape. I thought it was wonderful. And then the three of them, it's Edith, Enola, and Adora, kick these policemen's ass in the woods. It was great.
That's a great action scene. That's a really good scene.
The music with the hallelujah, like King of Kings, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. They're just kicking everyone's ass. It's fantastic.
And the fact that they use that song after he's like, the Holy Trinity, like that just made me, the second they started playing the song, I started laughing because I was like, that's
I know
somebody
so appropriate
in this production was hilarious. And
yeah,
I liked
entirely.
it.
So that's my favorite scene. I know that was a very long
That's
synopsis of what was happening, but I just had to give background. So, Justin, what was one of your favorite scenes in this movie?
Well, Amber, do you have one? You
You
can
go first because I still
Oh,
need to know why
okay,
you're done.
so my favorite scene is when Sherlock stumbles out of the bar and Enola finds him, and then Enola helps him home to Baker Street. And really just their interactions, like they're so funny. And I'm sorry, like I said, I just watched this movie very, just a couple hours ago. I don't remember exactly what they said back and forth, but it was all like there was some of it paying off what happened in the first movie,
Yeah.
continuing bits from that movie, and I just like their interaction in that scene. I like all their interactions in all the scenes, to be honest, but that one was especially funny because I think she was the one telling him not to get emotional. He told her not to be emotional in the first movie or earlier in the movie. I can't remember exactly the pattern, but I love whenever they I like whenever they pay off, like bring stuff from what you've watched so that
Fall back.
like it rewards the audience, and I like that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I think they're great together. I think they're just funny. So
when she's walking him into his flat and they walk up to 22-1A and he's like,
right,
that's A. He goes, I'm B. Then like camera pans over to the stairs and she's like, oh, she's like, but you like weigh so much. I mean, it's
right.
Henry fucking Cavill. Of course he's gonna weigh like a ton.
She said something about like how she's like, I wish we're very similar, but I think mother fed you better, or fed you more, or something like that. Yeah.
That made me laugh because I'm just like that. It's funny that actually shows that they're siblings.
Well, and him being drunk and just kind of coy and just like, you're an idiot. We have to go upstairs. Like,
I thought it was funny that he kept telling her to write things down, even if it was stupid.
That was great too. Yeah.
Yes. Fantastic.
I thought it was funny. I think my favorite part, and this might just be the romantic in me, I liked when he was trying to tell her that he loved her, but she was just not listening to him because she was talking. She was.
Oh, you're talking about Tewksbury.
Yeah.
Tewksbury. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Tewksbury. Yeah, because I think I really like their chemistry. I like how they work off of each other. I think it's adorable. It's the cutest thing I've ever seen. It's gonna give me a cavity. I can't deal. And I really like him as a character and as an actor. Like I really like him a lot. And I think I just thought it was really funny how, because I mean, I've done that. I do that all the time where I'm just like so caught up in my thoughts or what I'm doing that I can't focus on what you're telling me because I'm doing something else or I'm thinking about something else or saying something else. That I very much like that because you know as a viewer, you're like, and she was aware of it. Like she even says, like, she figured out what he was saying to her, but even though he wasn't like actually hearing it. And I just thought it was pretty cool. Like I liked that scene and how they portrayed that because it was a deduction and I like deductions.
Yeah.
But it was also at the worst time. And I thought it was cute. But again, that's the romantic in me.
Well, I think I was going to say Bricky here also is sharing one of her favorite parts of the movie as well. And I think it's probably similar to that of what Amber just explained is the ball that Enola sneaks into to try to get to William Lyon, who's she feels has a hand in the disappearance of Sarah Chapman, and Enola sending messages with a fan. You know, there is an art to communicating with a fan apparently, and then Tewksbury and Enola dancing in the bathroom because she says like I need to learn how to dance, and he's like I've been dancing since I was 5. You expect me to teach you to dance in like 5 minutes? She's like yes, like duh.
And I also liked the later on that scene that follows that up, which he's like, teach me how to fight. And I like that he did not outwardly want to admit it. So he's just like, I can fence, I can do this. And then just like, after a while, I was like, okay, teach me. Like, exactly. I thought it was very endearing. And I thought it was like very, very funny, but also not like shoving, because that's typical for these characters without shoving in the face that, oh, we're trying to be cool and switching gender norms. but they did it in a good way. It's like, yeah, that makes so much sense for these characters.
Well, I mean, he excels in certain certain things, and she excels in
Botany.
others,
Right.
botany, and then she excels in fighting. And I was surprised that she punched the crap out of him a couple of times, and
I'm not.
and he's like stop, and she's like laughing about it, and then of course naturally they kiss, and he's like, I think I need more lessons on this. I'm like,
Right.
oh my god, like kill me now, like just stop.
Yeah, he is
Very
a teenage
cute.
boy. Come on.
Very cute, very sweet. Yeah, no, their chemistry on screen is incredible. Like especially when they were dancing in the bathroom, and just you felt that kind of
Mhm.
tension, and they're wanting to be more that came from that, obviously. And then seeing Enola jealous of him talking with other young women and filling out dance cards, and especially with the character Cicely, who I knew right off the bat. I'm like, that's Sarah. Like there's no question that's Sarah. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, is she a true redhead or like a strawberry blonde? You know, like that's, you know, I was like, that's her. Like she's right underneath your nose. And then later on, Eudora says the exact same thing to Enola. Like this person could be right under your very nose. I'm like, I said that. But seeing obviously Enola care for Tewksbury because she got jealous a couple of times, and the outright, you know, like, yes, I heard you. You said you love me, and I love you too. And it's like, oh my.
I liked it because that's something that we don't really get with Sherlock. Because Sherlock is seen in a lot of portrayals that he's seen very asexual. And I'm demisexual myself, which is under the umbrella of asexual. So it's like I get it. I'm totally understand that.
Right.
So getting romance that isn't in the form of Irene Adler, the only woman he respects, like getting romance.
That's a special love right there.
Yeah, she's just that's her. That's his person, I guess. Who knows?
Yeah.
So seeing like romance, and it was so pure and so genuine and well portrayed that it's like I liked it. It was like it was cute, and I liked it. I don't know.
Yeah. So young, but so naive.
Again, I'm the cheesy person who's gonna like seeing the cute little. And I just liked how, I guess, even though he wasn't as prominent in this movie as he was in the first one, Tewksbury, that she was still like, whenever she's looking through the newspaper and stuff like that, she was still like, even though she's looking for her case and doing her own thing, she still saw that he's one of the most eligible bachelors in London right now. And like the camera did well, like showing that that's something that she's still like making note somewhere in her brain about that, even though she doesn't do or say anything about it.
Yeah. But in Tewksbury defense, he actually does have like a couple of hero moments in this movie. He gets into a fighting sequence with these policemen that are trying to destroy the evidence about what's happening at this match factory, because it really will implicate a lot of different people, including the Minister of Treasury and a few other people. But, you know, he does try to throw a punch, and he takes lots of punches. He does his little fencing bit. He kind of loses on that front as well. Then finally, something inside him, he sparks, and then he goes and just whip hams the hell out of that one policeman. And then at the very end, even though the evidence is destroyed, he still comes after the Minister of Treasury at the end. And when that minister is being arrested, you see Tewksbury in the background. He kind of has like this like, haha, sucker kind of look on his face, like, I got you.
Yes.
It was great. So
go ahead.
Bricky here has a question. For me, I'm curious of your thoughts on the visual / graphic design aspects in the movie. Oh boy. I mean, it goes without question. I'm gonna love it, and I love how the end credits are done kind of like a scrapbook kind of
Yep.
way,
Mhm.
because that's actually how I got my interest in graphic design. I used to scrapbook like a lot, and I would take magazines and pictures and drawings and all these sorts of different pieces and put them together into something that I thought looked good. I mean, also I was young, so uh, for me, I always love looking at the visuals and graphics of movies, television, because it's just an interest of mine. And Enola Holmes is up there for sure, just with the quality of like the scrapbook kind of look and theme. I love it. It looks good because it's kind of like it's like a scattered mind, but
Mhm.
like it does make sense. Like
Yeah.
just like how Sherlock in his his flat, he's like, "Why have you moved all the papers about?" And she's like, "It all looks the same to me." He's like, "No,
Exactly.
it may look like a mess to somebody else, but it makes sense in his mind, and I work the same way." So it's
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
yeah.
Just to put a pin in the Tewksbury character, I just want to say that the actor is named it's Louis Partridge. It might be pronounced Louis Partridge. I was gonna ask you all if y'all know, is Tewksbury a Sherlock Holmes like character in the lore, or was that created solely for this film or these
I
films?
don't remember him,
Okay.
but could be wrong. I
Yeah.
mean, there are, because I haven't read Sherlock in a long time. I did grow up with it, but I haven't read them and actually taken the time to go through all of that lore in a long time. So maybe, or
Yeah.
maybe he's I don't know if he's in the whatever it's based off of. Um
I think he's more of a creation for this Enola Holmes mysteries by the
Yeah.
author who is Nancy Springer.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
think he's probably not affiliated with the Arthur Conan Doyle series. This is probably just an interest for Enola.
Yeah. It makes sense. It's a great character. I think the actor does a really good job. This is so well. I mean, it's so well acted movie. I think it's to me. I do think, and Brittany, I often talk about this with you with different things. I think they should have held this back for like another month or so because I think this is like there's very much a holiday feel to it to me. And I feel like it, maybe that goes into my whole Harry Potter like thing too. It has that kind of feel like whenever it's cold outside, maybe you have the fire going and it's the holidays. Like these kind of movies, like are these this kind of
Sounds quite
IP.
cozy, Justin.
No, you know what I'm saying? Like it
Yeah, I
just
know what you
feels
mean.
because
I know what you
England
mean.
is often cold. Like it's
Mhm.
rainy and cold, and
It's
that's how it's
dreary as hell over there.
right.
Yeah.
So
No,
that
the first day I got there, it rained.
yeah,
Good God.
that's kind
Still
of my
so
one critique.
jelly. Never been there, and I want to.
One day.
One day.
Manifest
I
it.
have the sheer amount of things that I want to see there because of Harry Potter, Doctor Who, Sherlock, and that's just to name a few things.
Mm-hmm.
Like media that I like that it takes place in there. Like
Yeah. And there are tours specifically for Sherlock Holmes. There's a tour for like Jack the Ripper kind of
yeah,
things. There's
that's another
something
thing I like.
there's something you were a strange one, child.
History.
No, I know, I understand. There's even like for Sweeney Todd. I mean, there's so much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's London. London was the epicenter of like everything for
Mhm.
so long. Compared, that of the Roman Empire, and so yeah, there's just so much to see in London, and I think that's what really, Justin, to go back to your earlier question of the familiarity. It's London. It's I don't know, and especially for me personally because I have been there and I have seen these places, and the architecture is still like as true as it was back in the day. I
Mhm.
mean, there's a lot of modern buildings and things going on there, but for the most part, like you can still walk on cobblestone and
Yeah.
you can still partake in things of old, if you will, and there's a richness to it that I think is greatly reflected in these movies.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's great.
I can see it being kind of cozy and being kind of holiday-y because you're right. A lot of British fiction that we know. Like I mentioned, does a lot of Christmas stuff and does a lot of things around Christmas time. So when we see things like that it just kind of makes us think about being cozy.
Yeah.
So I think it just that, and I mean even Doctor Who, because Doctor Who takes place in all of time and space, but there's a lot of times where they go back to London because that's where it starts, right? And they have they Doctor Who always does Christmas specials. So it's like even for me, like I'm always going to assume like connect it with
holidays.
Coziness.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, I have one final thing I was going to ask y'all. So we've now seen both these Enola Holmes movies. Which one do y'all prefer and why? Brittany, I'll go to you first. Which one do you like better, or do you think they're very on par, very similar? I think they kind of are, but which one do you think is a better film?
So, I really enjoyed Enola Holmes, the first movie.
Okay.
Just because it was that's not my final answer though. Actually,
Okay.
I'm kind of going through my process. Sorry, I talk, you know this. I really enjoyed it just because, like Amber has said, there's like this newness. It's fresh. It's kind of semi-modern, progressive, if you will, and it's very refreshing in that respect. And much like we talked earlier about Enola breaking the fourth wall, and you still see these iconic characters of like that of Sherlock, Mycroft, Moriarty, and stories like that, or characters like that. I really enjoyed Enola Holmes, and so with this one, it's like, okay, is it going to hold up to the first one? Because it goes without saying that sequels don't generally do well compared to the original. I actually have to say, I think I might like this one a little bit better than the first one. I think it still held true to the theme, the characters, the pacing of the story, which it kind of kept you on your toes. You can kind of maybe sort of figure some things out, but then you were kind of surprised by a couple of things. And then you have, of course, the entertainment side, the action side, the sentimental side, and it has just a little bit of everything. It's got great comedic timing, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I actually will say I think I prefer Enola Holmes 2 a little bit more than the first one. Amber, what about you?
I actually agree. I like the second one better, but my reasoning for it is that I think the first movie they're introducing this new character because a lot of people don't know Enola, so that there's a lot of introductory we're finding our footing here. We're trying to stake our claim, I guess, and figure out where we are, get our bearings straight. I think that's what the first movie was kind of still doing. So I feel like by the time that they got to the second movie, they already got it. Like, okay, we got our spot. This is us. This is our vibe. We're going with this now. And I think that they could just hone in all of it a little bit more. So like the character development was a little richer. I feel like the humor was more prevalent, not like funnier, but I feel like it was more engaging. And this was, I just feel like it was a more, okay, we're back. Like, this is us. Like, this is what we like. I feel like it was more of a statement. So I really liked it. And again, bringing in Moriarty, because I think what I noticed with, again, some other people who in my life who watch Sherlock Holmes, and they don't know Sherlock as well as I do, but they've seen Robert Downey Jr. and they've seen BBC Sherlock. They've seen, those are their only two references to Sherlock Holmes, and both of them were like, when they watch this movie and they're like, there's no Watson and there's no Moriarty, there's no these people that I recognize. How is this connected to the world that I recognize other than this one person? So, and there's no Irene, like they didn't have that connection to some things. Like I get it. Because I think other than Sherlock himself, the only person in Lestrade, the only people that is Mycroft. So, and Watson and Moriarty are very beloved characters. So people recognize them, people know the names, they love them. So I think the fact that the first movie didn't have any of them, that people were like, where does this fit in the Doyle universe, I guess. And I think they kind of, by showing Moriarty in the second one, I think it was kind of showing where it is in the timeline.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yes.
I agree with both of y'all. I like the second one better. Nothing against the first one. I think the first one was really good and entertaining. Like Amber said, you established the character of Enola and really all the characters, but mainly Enola in the first one. And I think now we just like Brittany said, we're starting off and Enola's got this agency of her own and we're into the story we're going. And I personally like that better than the origin story. I mean, but it makes sense. The first one, like we said, you had to create this character, or you had to basically introduce this character to a lot of people. I'd never heard of Enola Holmes, so
same.
I think they did a really good job of
Neither.
establishing her. Yeah, and then now we're sprinkling in these other Sherlock Holmes universe characters, and I think it's leading toward obviously we saw that Moriarty was introduced in this movie, and then we find out as Sherlock reads in the newspaper that she's on the loose and she has already broken out of custody. So
Always.
yeah, so definitely points to she would be the villain in a third one or a part of the third one. And I feel like this movie, it's number one on Netflix right now. I'm sure it will be for the rest of this week and maybe next week. I think that both Henry Cavill, I know Millie Bobby Brown has a pretty good deal with Netflix, and I think Henry Cavill probably still has some kind of.
Well, she's a producer on this on these two movies, so yeah, she's got some leeway with them.
Yeah, I think they have pretty good relationships with Netflix, so I think that they want to be in the Millie Bobby Brown and Henry Cavill business as far as Netflix. So I think that that'll continue. Go ahead, Brittany. What are you going to say?
Just had a thought. Netflix, if you ever watch this, bring Millie Bobby Brown into The Witcher. That way Henry Cavill can come back. Do it. Make it happen. Don't replace Ciri, though, in The Witcher. I think she's great. But, bring in Millie Bobby Brown so Henry Cavill can come back.
Yeah. I've never read The Witcher or played the game. I just watched the show.
Same. Yeah, I'm in the process of reading The Witcher or The Last Wish, which is the first book, but I'm movie or show. Henry Cavill, come back. Anyway,
you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, you're right. They both have, I think, incredibly great relationships with Netflix. Why else would they keep coming back? I mean, if they didn't, money is money. Yeah. I get it. A job is a job, but for Millie, she's now 18, and to have had a producer credit in the first movie 2 years ago, and then this movie, I mean, that says a lot for a young woman.
Yeah,
coming up into her own, and I think she's a brilliant actress. Again, she's got great chemistry with the actors that she plays on screen with, and especially Henry Cavill. Their relationship was very believable. So I think we'll see a third installment. I just don't know when, given that obviously they're both busy people.
Yeah.
So.
And also, even her interactions with Moriarty or Mira Troy, it's
oh, she was great.
Yeah,
when she showed her hand, she was great.
It was perfect.
Oh.
I love reveals like that, and it makes me so. If that wasn't obvious, but I loved it. I mean, it was good. All of it was good, and Millie Bobby Brown's chemistry with her, talking about when they were kind of, I guess, gossiping before the ball, that's always so interesting because I like seeing how Moriarty interacts with the other people in Sherlock's life, because Moriarty does fairly frequently, and with not just Mycroft and Sherlock themselves, but also like hit everybody that
Mhm.
Sherlock has a connection or relationship to. So
Yeah.
they already laid down a little bit of groundwork there, and I think it's interesting, and there's
Mhm.
potential
Mhm.
for more, and I hope there is more.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think with Netflix, one of the things I don't really like about Netflix is that they don't have the IP that I care about. You know, that IP is either with Disney or with HBO Max or with Warner
Yeah.
Brothers. And I think it's important for them to have the Sherlock Holmes IP, or at least the Enola Holmes
Mhm.
with Sherlock able to use that character. I think that's really important for them because it's an IP game with the streamers, and you've got to have the characters that people. I mean, you create new characters, sure, and they've done that with obviously Stranger Things. And they've created their own stuff, and that's great.
Yeah.
But I think it's also like whenever you get an IP that's like Sherlock Holmes that's been around for a long time, that has fans and so many different iterations, I think it's important to serve that fan base well. And I think Enola Holmes is a good entry in that universe. And
Also, Netflix, bring back BBC Sherlock to the platform.
It's
That'd be
not on there
great.
anymore.
Oh no, it's been long gone. Yeah, I made Justin watch it before it went
yeah,
away.
I literally finished it the day that it went off. Like, it was like it's been about a year or
It's been about a
so.
year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I mean, probably like I know like years and years ago, my family got me the first 2 seasons on DVD, and I don't even have a way to play a DVD anymore. But
oh my.
I really don't. And then that and the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who, but again, that was
Nice.
over a decade ago. So
Yeah.
Things have
but-
changed.
yeah, and I don't even think I still have them anymore. I think they're well, I think I had the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who, but that's because
You have to.
She's obsessed.
Doctor Who.
Right.
I can talk so long about Doctor Who.
Do you have any other final thoughts on Enola Holmes 2?
For those who are not sure about giving Enola Holmes a chance, I definitely say don't knock it until you try it. Definitely give her an honest chance. I mean, this is a complete different take on the Holmes kind of stories. It's not like it's a literal female version of Sherlock Holmes. Like, no, she is her own person, and she is trying to find her own path out of the shadow of her brother Sherlock. And I think it's a very entertaining path. I think it's incredibly an empowering path, if you will, especially with, so much of what's going on in light of women these days and things like that. And also just respect to the time period that Enola's character lives in, where women didn't have rights. They weren't respected in the way that they should have been, and weren't given that quality of life, especially, working. And so I definitely will encourage all of you who have tuned into this spoiler pod of Enola Holmes 2, definitely go and watch the first one, or tell your friends to go watch the first one as well as the second one. Also, if you haven't checked out any of the other Sherlock adaptations, TV shows, movies, definitely encourage you to do so, because not only is it entertaining, I think you'll just have an appreciation for the performance that each respected actor gives.
Very
Amber,
well
what
said.
about you?
I
Final
agree.
thoughts.
Yeah, give her a chance. It's an amazing way to bring yourself into the world of Sherlock Holmes without entirely feeling like you have to know about Sherlock Holmes. Like, it's a great way to enter that universe, and I really like it, and it's fun, and it's funny, it's interesting, it keeps your attention latched on, and I just really enjoyed it. So just go watch it. And like Brittany said, go watch other adaptations of Sherlock Holmes. I almost said Doctor of Sherlock Holmes too.
And Doctor Who. Watch Doctor Who also.
Yeah, somebody watch Doctor Who and talk to
do
me
it for
about Doctor Who,
Amber,
please.
and go. Let me throw up her Instagram up here real fast. That way y'all can go
thank
chat with Amber
Well,
about
yeah, of
Doctor
course.
Who. Amber has her also has a channel, a YouTube channel called OllivAmber's Wands. And Amber, talk about that real quick about what your channel is.
Hi. Well, OllivAmber's Wands is a study of wands in the wand lore in the wizarding world. So every episode is like a character analysis, but of the wand, and I go into the historical, cultural, and backstory of the wood and the magical beast that the court comes from, and compare that to the character who owns that wand and see how well it fits. So there's some history, there's some mythology, there's a lot of Harry Potter references. So yeah, it's obviously I like other things other than Doctor Who and Sherlock. So, but yeah, I'm just a great big nerd, everybody. So
she also likes vampires. Big
yes,
fan of
I
vampires.
do, and horror movies. But yeah, I
Yes.
do like my vampires. I actually finally got access to Interview with a Vampire.
Yay!
Yeah, I'm already almost halfway done with it. It's been 2 days.
Oh my god. A pod for Interview with Vampire will be coming soon. Just saying. Anyway, but everyone go follow OllivAmber's Wands here on YouTube, as well as her Instagram account. You can see here on the banner at OllivAmbers.wands. Her information will also be in the description box down below.
Thank you.
Yeah, please subscribe to Amber and follow her. Do all that good stuff.
Thank you.
We love
You guys
having
are
her on the
making
show.
me blush.
Yeah, we love having her on the show, and then of course y'all do the Handmaid's Tale episode
Yes.
breakdown. So
We're about to conclude that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
is this
Last
the finale
episode.
this week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Finale is happening this week. So for those of y'all who are into The Handmaid's Tale, check out our finale review for season 5 coming to you this Friday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Amber is new to the world of daylight savings.
I am.
She's not a fan.
I was an hour late to work today.
Are you?
Yeah.
It was a mess.
Are you from Arizona? Do you live in Arizona? Okay, that's okay.
I grew up my entire life in Arizona, and about 5-6 months ago we moved. 5 months ago we moved to California, so I'm in Northern California now, and yeah,
Not a fan. She hates it. Welcome to the rest of us hating it too.
I was short little blur is I was so confused this morning because the past 2 weeks my office has been out, the windows have been pitch black when I start work in the morning.
Oh no.
And today the sun was out, and so I was like, that's weird. And it's because I was an hour late.
We set that alarm, girl.
Yeah, I'm fixing it. I already have it fixed for now, but it was a whole bunch of hullabaloo for nothing.
Oh my goodness.
The good news is I think that we'll spring forward again, I think in April. And then I think after that, we're just going to stay. I don't think we're going to do.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too.
Yeah. So.
God,
Which I'm like,
God.
Yeah, I'm like, why did we even go back then to now? What?
I'm not about this.
Yeah, it's
going down early. It's
a
crap.
farming thing. I think that's the reason why it came along. Yeah, I
that
like
is why
fallback.
it came along, but it's
Yeah.
Right. Personally, I like fallback.
Damn you, Ben Franklin.
Yeah, fallback is great. Spring forward is bullshit. I'll just say it. Said I wasn't going to cuss, but it is. I hate it. I've always hated it.
Professional, my ass.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're late in the show, so
there you go.
Let it fly. So now that you know what we think about Enola Holmes 2, we want to know what you think about it. So, Brittany, how can people find us on social media to let us know their thoughts on Enola Holmes 2?
So first and foremost, though, I want to give a shout out once again to those who joined us in today's live stream, Geeking Out with Millie Mel, also Bricky Hollows. Appreciate you being here. We also had a newcomer here. Let me find the name. Maya Cruz Cavill Beatty Peg. Thank you for being here. What a name.
Well, a lot of last names looks like.
A lot of last names. Yes, we definitely appreciate y'all being here, and anyone else who's checking in on this in a replay or on our audio podcast. I'll get to that momentarily, but be sure to follow us not only here on YouTube. We're at 140 subscribers. How amazing is that?
That's awesome. Yeah.
We're doing so incredibly well. Thank y'all so much. We're on the road to 200. I've already mentioned to also show love to Amber as she makes her way to 200 subscribers as well. But also be sure to give us a like on this video and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Search at Watchers Basement. Also, use hashtag Watchers Basement when tagging us in articles, memes, things of that nature. We absolutely love memes. But if there's something that you want us to check out, let us know by using hashtag Watchers Basement. And also, for your audio podcast needs, we are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, thanks to Anchor.fm. Give us a 5-star rating. Really helps out our channel and helps out with the algorithm, because algorithms suck. Let's beat it. Okay, let's just beat the algorithm to death. Let's just do it. So subscribe, like, you know what to do. And although we are not a large podcast, we are a proud one.
Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate that. So for Brittany, for Amber, thanks again, Amber, for appearing on the show. This is our first time meeting each other, so this has been great.
Yay!
Yep.
We've been talking in the chat technically because I've been watching House of the Dragon too.
Well, I know, but like the first time, kind of face to face or talking to each other. So it was great to have you on the show. Yep.
Thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Yay!
Awesome. So for Brittany and for Amber, this is Justin saying thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.